It is my absolute honor to invite on stage Shri Sadanam Balakrishnan Asan. Shri Sadanam Balakrishnan needs no introduction in this gathering here. A living legend of Kathakali and someone who started this process that today we are trying to analyze in this conference several years back, working on adaptations of Shakespearean plays such as Macbeth and Othello in Kathakali, among many others. I am very grateful to him for readily agreeing to converse with us today. Thank you very much, Asan.
Namaskaram to all. It's a great privilege for me to be here to ask Sadanam Ashan some questions. I think I'll start without further ado. The first question comes from a curiosity I have, but also something that Dr. Hariharan talked about. He said that the epic sweep of Don Quixote is very similar to an impulse in Kathakali. We draw on epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, and so on. So I guess I wanted to ask you if there are any ideas, as somebody who's adapted Shakespeare, what kinds of stories are suitable to present in Atakatha and then in Kathakali?
One thing I want to tell that I am not informed the subject to. Just on the way I am told it is about Kathakali production of Othello. And I note just something actually. First, I am a Kathakali. I don't know, I can claim as a performer, a devotee to Kathakali. That will be better to tell. When I was studying in the school in the 10th standard, the edited version of Othello was taught there. Then when I started to learn Kathakali, and then I was doing some productions, my guru was doing some productions in Delhi. I thought, why don't we try Othello? Because there are so many similarities with Othello and Kathakali. One thing, both originate at almost the same time, in the 17th century. That is according to my knowledge. I am not an academician, so there can be mistakes. Forgive me. So the other way, the line for Othello also in verse, it is in like poem. So, and the language also is stylized, and Kathakali also not the normal language. It has the stylized version of Malayalam and Sanskrit is called Manipuravalam. Because everything in Kathakali is very much stylized. So the language also must be little bit stylized. So that is another reason. And there is enough scope to produce the different powers in Shakespeare, and Kathakali is well known for its way of expression and dramatical conflicts in between. So these are the things which influenced me or encouraged me to adapt Kathakali. But when I started in this process, there was enough negative approach from all the side. First, the Secretary of Sangeeta Academy, Usha Malikul, really, why are you want to spoil both Kathakali and Shakespeare? That was her comments. Why do you want? And then the people from the administrative officers from Kathakali Center where I was working, they say it cannot be successful. Othello cannot be successful on Kathakali stage. And the teacher who taught Kathakali and who taught me Shakespeare, he also is a Kathakali performer as a vocalist. He says it cannot be useful or successful in Kathakali, the Shakespeare play. That was the first support from my colleagues, and because Usha Malik is one of the best supporters for me everywhere she was giving encouragement. She is the first person stopped me. Then I thought better to go back. Again, one of my students, he was a teacher in a school of drama. He says, no, we can try. And we tried. Within about 3 months, I read that whole Othello so many times. Each time when I read, I get some new ideas and all these things. I cannot tell and remember how many times because I have no knowledge of English, also a little bit. When I talk, you can understand. Not a scholar in English, and especially the Shakespearean language and its aesthetic approach, its beauty. I cannot imagine. That was so. Just I tried to translate selected portion only, not whole. In Kathakali version, we cannot tell it's a literature. It is something to perform. Only the text. But to suit the bhava, music, and drama, I translated into Kathakali language, and then I rewrite. After again, it is also repeated so many times. Then we presented as a work in progress only one scene in the School of Drama. That was from there I thought, this is a good attempt. It will be successful. And then we repeated that process, and then within 1 year we are able to present Othello. And first production was in British Council Auditorium in Delhi, and it was houseful. I don't know why it happened houseful. And fortunately, my guru on his way back from Europe was in Delhi, and I invited him as a guest of honor. And after watching the performance, his commentary, when I was just removing my question, said the best or most appropriate attempt to get Western audience to Kathakali. That was his comment. And then Usha Malik Rush, what a marvelous thing you did, what a magic you did to both, you did justice for both Kathakali and Othello. I cannot imagine before that. Just when I saw, then only I understood this is possible. And those who are against from Kathakali administrative, they all came and supported. That was the experience. Then, yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that Shakespeare was not a scholar. He was an artist with not much of an education in the traditional sense, and he took risks. So I don't think you have to even say that, Ashan. You're a virtuoso in what you do. And the second thing is, I wanted to ask you, you said you selected from the play. So what did you select and why did you select? Can you give 1 or 2 examples? In Othello, like what was most appropriate or important?
The character of Othello, he's a valorous commander-in-chief. He have a heroic power, full heroic power. He's an embodiment of heroism. That was, but of course he have some problems. His inferiority. Actually, I tell the actual villain is not Iago in Othello. According to my concept, his inferiority complex is the actual villain. That means the actor has enough scope to produce such things. That is why I selected Othello. And then just opposite, the heroine, she is the embodiment of innocence. So that's why I selected for her a pure white, doubtless pure white costume. Normally in it's pure, every pure white then says something heroism. No, it is a character. I want to present that hero, that simple purity of that character. And then the just opposite Iago. Again, I think that normally in film and all this, I heard that Iago is the main character, not Othello, in films and all. That was I am told. Iago is not a black man. He's belong to that European. When Othello is black, he is not a black. But I selected him for black costumes because of his character is something very old and rough and mean. So to dedicate, black means not Katalan, don't misunderstand. It is like Kali, but the headgear is normal kireedam, not Kuttichamadam, because he starts from the beginning and to the end. So a Chokonnadi with full costumes of survive or stay with emotion will be difficult. So like Rativesham, but Chotti and all this will be same as Kali, but paper small size of paper, and the costumes is like that. I change most of the characters. For example, Othello is a black and blue and a character of sufferings and all this. I just took as the Bhagava in Nalayirida, but not as. There is a chest plate to show he's a warrior, and there is a shoulder place like in Kudiyattam like that. So, but when you see it is a Kathakali costume. Something symbolize, something suggests, such as suggestions without changing the Kathakali concept. I designed the costumes according to. So most of the character have such small changes. And your question,
yes. My question was how you selected the parts that you wanted to adapt.
I want to show Kathakali can adapt first. That is the theme, and the main reason, the way of expressions, each character, mainly the Othello, Desdemona, Iago. These are the main characters I selected. I didn't took all the story because 5 of Othello to present in Kathakali stage will be difficult. So I selected few scenes, and again the line also selected to fit. My idea is to have I inspired a little bit about the Othello, and that inspiration must be communicated through Kathakali to the audience. That was there. I hope I almost succeed. That is my.
Can you spoke about Shakespeare's beautiful language and poetry. How did you capture that in Kathakali, in the Atakatha, and then in the performance, perhaps?
For example, I am not what I am. There is one line. It's like that. Wherever I can, I try to justify the language, but not as beautiful. Or this is only one example. For the last scene. I don't remember things. When the Othello appears with the one open naked sword in his and a lighted lamp to the chamber of bed chamber, he first I took something from Toranayuddham, Ravana entry. Without only there, I introduced a new instrument also, Timila. After that, in Kathakali, they started using Timila in Ravana. That is after that. First, actually, it was I introduced Timila in Kathakali. It was the murmuring of Othello's heart murmuring gives that impression with Timila, and then he enters and looks regretted, and then goes to Desdemona with full revenge, then seeing that alabaster, that what is about the tenderness and softness of the, then he takes vex, then again thinks about Cassio and the what Iago told, then again more, and then that repeats 2-3 times, then he puts off the light. Here we use a little bit light effect also, not traditionally in Kathakali we never use light effect. Here we use the first entrance of the Othello with little bit grey dark, then when puts off, then whole light goes, then again light, like that we use few things to give the impression of the drama to the audience.
What was different for you working on this, and what was the same?
The difference, the things, the characters of this, we have not, they are not familiar to Kathakali or Indian audience. Because normally in Indian story, very few characters have first appears as a very heroic and then change to for example, in one play we can think about Dakshayagam. He was a very noble character, appears, and when she gets the girl, he says, oh, this is the daughter, can be the wife of Shiva. Then he became against Shiva because of so many reasons, whatever. Again, the reason is egoism. That is what happened there also. And he became the villain, Shiva. Same way here, he enters very powerful heroic character. Then gradually, because of the influence of Iago and his own feelings, he gradually changed to actually villain of his own villain. He becomes, and he kills the innocent wife, and then he himself kills. That is the story. So, and the main challenges that I can tell, one is to the artist to get into that character. They will think about when hero powerful, then they will think about Bhima, Arjuna, and all these things. We cannot think like that. And when he tried to kill, they tried to do like Hidaka approaching Sairandri and all this. So to get involved such characters to Kathakali was one of the major difficulty for me. The other one, I first mentioned the costumes. The Kathakali have some characters symbolic. We call it Triguna, Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tama Guna, and all these things. It cannot be adapted as it was. Some few suggestions which can be helpful to. This is not that a character from Mahabharata. It's something else. And so, and then to get the music tuned according to Bhava. When we tell this can be that raga, sometimes it will not be fitting. So you must try it different. And I added one special rhythm also in Othello. It is called Kundanachi. It was a folk talam in Kerala, but never. I don't think anybody used that tala for Kathakali. I introduced that tala. Why? Because that 5+7 meter that gives some power to the character. Takadim, ta. Only the rhythm gives some special character to the. So I introduced a special rhythm and special instrument. These are and the light influence. And one thing especially mentioned when I performed in NCPA, they say this silence has this much dramatic effect. When after killing the Desdemona, he says, "Whole the world is still," and then there is a pin drop silence for about 10 seconds. All this, and again when after he realized that she is innocent and she actually murdered the innocent, then he feel regret, and then the sound grew from the top very slowly. Within 10-15 minutes it goes very slow, and then slow, very silent. Then even we put off this the Shruti also, and there is no, and from the audience can hear the breathing of the character, Othello, the breathing of the character. There is such dramatical, they were never seen anywhere. That was the impression from that. These are the few changes I tried. I don't know what the impression for that.
This will be so useful for younger artists. How do you know when to make changes? And how do you know when to keep it to what you know?
For the young dancers, I tell they must first very much strict and have full training for the techniques. That when they have the full control of the technique, pure, they must learn obediently, sincerely, dedicatedly from the teachers, and have full control over the idiom or dance, Bharatanatyam, Kathakali, whatever. Then only they try to do innovations. For example, anybody, techniques, whatever, it is Shastra. For Natya Shastra, Natya Veda, it is different. Shastra we can learn. The other thing, the aesthetic things we cannot teach or learn. That they must get. These innovations, that is their own. They must. It is not. This whatever I try, it is not taught my guru. It is my own. But the techniques, when you see, it is fully Kathakali technique. There is no any. For once I presented one of my experimental production in Tiruvandhuram. Then Sri Nelludu Asalam, it was there. He said, it is our own Kathakali. It is not a new story, but it is a totally new story. It's a French classic, let's say. But when we present, we are not changing the techniques, but there will be like the character costumes. There will be slight variation from the. They cannot tell where it changes, where it again when it comes again. That changes must be there, and then with that, I think the art can grow. If you stick there on only Kottayam Kathakali, no, Kottayam Kathakali is the base. We cannot change that. With that, we must even Kottayam Kathakali. There are enough scope for our own creativity. That's why the Kottayam, after even 300, 400 years, it is surviving. If it is without any flow, then it will be finished. So that innovation must be fixed on the classes. Don't change the classic structure, and with the structure, on the structure, you must create something new, beautifully, with your creative capacity.
Were there any other? What year did you first do this, Ashan? Which year did you produce Othello first?
It's in late 80s.
Late 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And has it grown? Has it changed over time, or have you stuck with the original Atakatha and the original way of doing it?
One thing, now it is not only performed by me. So many artists are performed. The first, those who are is totally changed. For example, last time I in Serendipity performed with Margi Vijayaguma and Nelliodu Unitha. So we are changing. So according to the person, there will be slight. For example, in Kalyana song, Yamasena, Govetan does, I does something. It is not same. Our own influence will be there. So that changes happens. Even in Delhi now, every year they perform at least 15-20 times Othello. I am not there. They perform there will be little slight changes. When it is going beyond, and then I get information, I told it is not Othello, and it is not my Othello. You can do your own way. But that was the. And one thing I want to mention here is just after my production, there was 3-4 theatre productions. They all mentioned that it's because of the influence of Sadanam Balakrishnan Kathakali, we presented the Othello this way. That was the one credit I got.
How do you, when you do something like this, when you go back to doing something from our own epics or stories, is there a change in the way we approach? Have we learned, because you learned something from here, does it make you look at our own work in a different way or a fresh way, or is there?
Again, I told that structure is same, but the approach of the character, sometimes it can be something slight change, then it will be more beautiful, more attractive. And don't changing its character and its techniques and all this. We can feel something, we can introduce something new. Yeah.
Apurva? 5 more minutes. Oh, so I have time for some more questions. When you take something from such a completely different culture, how much background work do you have to do? Research do you have to do? Do you try to be faithful to that world, or do you just completely interpret it in our own terms?
I told it is, actually it is my own production, but it is Shakespeare's play. It is my own production, but it is Shakespearean play. So we must think, we must be very sincere to Shakespeare. If we don't justify his approach and we do totally different, then we cannot lead this Shakespearean play. So when I presented this in Paris for a workshop, it was for a selected audience, about 200 only theatre people, comedian or choreographer, producer, or about 200 audience. I presented without costumes because I didn't prepare for perform. I had few musical cassettes. I presented there. They say Kathakali is the best idiom to present Shakespeare play better than the modern theatre. That's what's their appreciation. So my Kathakali have enough scope. What he was explaining about the drama, we have enough scope. But what in Malayalam is called Pulipichu Kuttilandava. That means cleaning the baby and no, don't make that. You must try to, whenever this is not only my approach, my guru, whenever I introduce new stories, he will do something innovative or new addition to that. For example, his one the warfare in Sword and Shield, he choreographed totally different. Nobody seen it before that. And a training of Sri Rama by Vishwamitra in the forest, totally different rhythm and patterns. He says, this don't you introduce in Kathakali Sound. This for this. Whenever you do something new, or if you feel something it will be better, then you can use. For example, when I was doing Bali Vidyam, there is a padam of Ravana to Narada. Aranu minimum. Anyone dare to face me. There he introduced an Ashtagalasam. Nobody knows that. Only he taught me, and I presented. He was Narada and I was Ravana. It was very powerful, and normally we have understand that Ashtagalasam only for excessive happiness. he says any bhava in a most or we can use, but not the same. We must introduce something new. So I did, because of his suggestion, a new Ashtagala with Adanda Talam is different. Normally, everybody thinks only in Chamba Ashtagala can be possible, but he introduced in Adanda, and I performed last year in a national program. I did, but unfortunately they edited the version and they didn't present the whole.
I think we can open the floor to questions now.
What language did you use? What language was your Atakatha?
Yes, I told Malayalam. It is not a high standard Manipuram. It is slightly some Sanskrit word will be between. For example, one line I can Mohanam Mrudula Shayayil Vikasidam Puje Uru Marali Bol. This Mohanam Mrudulam all is Malayalam. So Mohanam Mrudula Shayayil Vikasidam Puje Uru Marali Bol Mohanangi Netra Patmadalam Pottadachu Marivya. The meaning is the Desdemona is sleeping in her shape like a swan on a lotus and closing her lotus eye petals. This is the way the language we use. This is not the Shakespearean language, it is Kathakali, Malayalam language, Kathakali language. Other way, Vikhyadam, Bhuvane, Venice, Nagaram, Satyaya Dharma. About Venice is famous for it is good, but only there is one person who is against this. This way is the language I use. It is not in English, it is Malayalam. Maximum simple Malayalam, because I am not a writer, so whatever I compose it is to perform.
Namaskaram, Ashan. This might seem a very silly question, but sometimes I wonder, because Kathakali is such a heroic art form, so larger than life and so magnificent. I've grown up with Kathakali and I love it. The story that you chose, Othello, was also a heroic story, even though it has some, let us say, naturalistic elements. But is it possible at all for you to take a modern story like from Bashir or from Paul Zakaria and turn it into a Kathakali Atakatha and performance? Is it possible?
One of my teacher told that a character of Kathakali must have psychological distance. There must be a psychological distance, not the social. When we see this person and all this thing come on the stage with the full costumes and headgear, and we cannot take. That's why Gandhi Kathakali is failed, and so many such so many Kathakali plays failed such social. But in Kathakali we can have social feelings or ideas. Most of the Kathakali play or Mahabharata story have relevance even now. For example, Kijaka Vatham. It's a story that Kijaka tries to molest Draupadi and very heinously killed. When we saw one experience I will tell, I was performing in Punjab, Kijavatham. When the Kija was killing and then Maro Saleko, Maro Saleko. That was the response from the audience. That means it always have moral support. Not only here, this one. Normally, all our Indian classical art form, of course, Kala is to enjoy. It is, first of all, it is entertainment. But through the entertainment, to uplift morally is the main object or aim, must be the main aim for our classical performance. Not just to don't finish the entertainment. Must be beneficial for the society, person and society. That is my. So it is not proper such. It will be difficult to.
May I add a little bit to it?
Sure.
Last year or so, there was a performance of Kumaran Ashan's Karuna this wasn't Thonakil. So you have this poem. Again, the distance that Ashan was talking about, the distance that you have, it is not that it has to be always Mahabharata or Ramayana, but then you have Karuna and you have the Buddha Bhikshu, coming there, and then it also, gives you, I'm not saying gives you a message, but then this is something that is very topical, very relevant today when we talk about caste distinction, discrimination, and the way in which we would look at a woman or you look at somebody. So it speaks to us in a very, very profound manner. I think the point that he was making about the reception that we have to Kathakali, even that has changed. The resistance, for example, that he had when he first conceived of this text, that is something that you see in Kerala even today. But then I would say of late that has changed a little bit. I was surprised to see that on the 14th of this month, they are going to perform another Shakespeare play, Tempest, Miranda Parinayam. Miranda's marriage. I just saw this. I don't have the details on the 14th. I was really surprised. I was wondering how on earth will they perform the Tempest as Kathakali. I really don't know. But then I was surprised by this. Miranda Parinayam on the 14th of this month.
Ganesh, would you like to add anything to the discussion? Just a response to what Ashan has said.
Sorry, the question, Gauriaka, that you asked is like, can anything be done, right? I feel that it has to have navarasas. It cannot be just one rasa. If it is that, then it would be boring. It has to be a drama. That means that it has to have a lot of different rasas. That's my take on it.
Like Kumar Ashan's Karuna, we presented Bhavashuddhi, Bharat Srigadan Bhavashuddhi. It is relevant even now, the relation between two castes and the approach towards a lady and her advice how can change a man who is passing in lustful approach, and he says you are my loving sister, and that is the Bhavashuddhi. We took the same line of Vallathol and just few lines added in between to create the drama, and it was a good production, and the production was did by my guru Kumaran Ashan.
I was just going to ask Asan finally how he did it anyway, though everybody said no. He said that the student came and said, let's try, but I think we got our answer here.
No, when I studied in the school, I thought it is a fitting story for Kathakali. That's why. Then when I approached, really, then I thought, it is not that much easy. There is anything we want to do new production, there will be challenges. We must be ready to face the challenges and don't get back. Try to overcome the challenges with your own imaginative or creative capacity. Then if it is fitting thing, you will be successful. Again, I will tell, same way I tried Macbeth. I cannot claim it was as successful as Othello. I admit that.
Thank you very much, Asan. We're really grateful to you for this session. And thank you, Akhila, for very beautifully leading the conversation. I would like to now invite Srimati Leela Venkatraman on stage to kindly come up to honor Sadanam Balakrishnan Asan.
Where Ashan is concerned, he can't say that I've ever been bad. I've always said some good things about what he has done. And when he was in charge of the International Center for Kathakali, every year something new used to be done. And taking on the literature in some other language and trying to adapt it to Kathakali. This was something that he did with so many compositions. And most of them were successful, some not so successful. But he had the courage to try this, and he really didn't bother about criticism, which was plentiful from all directions.